Thank you very much. We are live. Good evening, Biafrans all over the world. I want to welcome us to this evening's edition of BTV Europe. And with me is Wada. Wada, we're already live, and I just have to hold the line for you while you join us. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Good evening, wonderful people of Biafrans from here, lovers of freedom all over the world, wherever you are joining us from. You are joining us on Biafra Television Europe. And if this is your first time of joining us on BTV, you are welcome. My name is Jovistar Chichi, and this evening, a guest will be joining us to analyze the news trending around Nigeria. But before he joins us, let us take a look at IPOB press release of July 3rd, 2024. Press release, 3rd July 2024. IPOB advised some Igbo politicians working against the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to refrain. The attention of the global family and movement of the indigenous people of Biafra, ably led by the great prophet and resolute leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has been drawn to the efforts by some unscrupulous politicians to frustrate the efforts to release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who appeal court has discharged and acquitted on 13th October 2022. IPOB same branch revealed that some criminal politicians visited Abia State Governor Chief Alex Oti to persuade him not to support the quest for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from DSS solitary confinement. We wish to inform those criminal elements working against the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to beware, because we know of their secret meetings and discussions against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. If they continue with their sabotage, their names will be made public soon. Also, some of the political jobbers in the Southeast region working against the unconditional release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should know that we are following the activities closely. The unscrupulous individuals have secret meetings with Southeast governors to frustrate the clarion call of the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who incidentally is the only political prisoner in Nigeria currently. We want those sabotaging the unconditional release of our leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should know, the saboteurs should know, that nothing happens in the Southeast region without IPOB getting the intel ahead of time. Those Igbos involved in this dastardly act to frustrate the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should retrace their steps quickly. IPOB and ESN is not begging them to stop, but they should be ready for the consequences of their oppositional actions. The IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has not committed any crime known to law internationally or locally. He is being detained illegally for more than 3 years by the Nigerian government after he was kidnapped in Kenya and extraordinary rendition to Nigeria in violation of international extradition laws. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's continuous detention is a gross violation of appeal court judgment and a slap on Ndibo's face as a race. IPOB understands that Nigerian government has no case against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He must be released unconditionally, according to the judgment of the appeal court. The continuous illegal detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is discrimination against Ndibo. The Nigerian government has dropped cases and charges against political prisoners from other ethnic groups, but kept only Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in their detention because he's an Igbo man. Does it not mean that Ndibo means nothing in Nigeria? The unscrupulous politicians from the southeast region sabotaging the release of our leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu are also not regarded. The unscrupulous Ndibo persons working against the unconditional release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and not working against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but also sabotaging Ndibo as a whole. Signed, Comrade Emma Powerful, Media and Publicity Secretary for IPOB. Thank you, wonderful people of Biafra, for listening and for being with us. I am still Wanda Jovistar Chichi, and joining me here in the studio is our able comrade, Ikem Patrick. Mazi, good evening from here.
Sorry, I was muted. I was muted. Thank you very much, Wada Jovistar. It's my pleasure to be here with you this evening, and I wish to welcome Biafrans all over the world to this evening's wonderful episode on BTV Europe. Thank you very much.
Mazi, thank you. I will ask you a little question based on the just read press release. According to this press release, as we all know, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped in Kenya, and his human rights were violated. He was tortured for 8 days in Kenya, and he was repatriated back to Nigeria on the 19th of June 2021. And some prominent or well-meaning Igbos, IPOB not excluded, pressured the then administration to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally, and we understood that the former President Buhari said that let the court of law do justice to the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He had nothing to say except what the court says, that he's going to abide. And to everyone's surprise, the Nigerian court of appeal, in the first place, he was tried on 15-count charges, which was later reduced to 7. And on the 8th of April, he was also rearranged. Then on the October 13th of 2022, he was discharged and acquitted. But surprisingly enough, Nigerian government, the then Attorney General of the Federation, applied for stay of execution. And since then till date, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been illegally detained in DSS, not even remanded to Nigerian prison, but he was still illegally incarcerated in DSS. And every other political prisoner or prisoner of conscience, like Sunday Igboho and Omoyele Shure, they have all been released and they have all traveled and are just facing their lives and their families. Mazi, what do you think, or why do you think that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still in the hands of Nigerian state security? Is it just
Well,
because he's an Igbo man, or is it because he's a prisoner of conscience, or why? Why? Or is it because he's just Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? Or is it because he's just from Oku Kano's family? Why is he still there?
thank you very much for that question. I'm going to take it bit by bit because the question is quite long, but I'm going to break it down in sequence because it's very, very important that we give the best we can in analyzing the situation. And I would first of all like to say that the abduction of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya was an unfortunate situation for the indigenous people of Biafra, and the most unfortunate for the Nigerian state. We've seen the issues that have come up as a challenge for the Nigerian state, and in all the cases, even from 1967 uh, till date, we have seen how the whole situation have been messed up. And because before we got to where we are, the battle we are fighting today emanated, uh, you know, quite long, 50 years or more ago, when the Civil War was fought. And there was a pre-resolution arrangement that would have prevented the Civil War, which was an agreement that was made in Aburi for the state to have a regional system. Uh, all that was scuttled, and which led to the declaration of the Biafran state. And from there, the Nigerian state declared war on Biafran people, invaded the Biafran territory. The Biafrans have to find themselves in a situation of self-defense and trying to protect their territorial integrity at the time. And so we've also seen how the post Biafran issue was handled when promises were made for reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reintegration, which never happened till date. And these are the issues that have led us to where we are today. And we've seen agitations uh, from every part of the country, people in different areas of the country agitating for one thing or the other. Before even the Biafra agitation came on board fully, we saw some level of agitation in the Niger Delta as a result of the mismanagement of the resources and how that region was, devastated by oil exploration without any form of compensation for their destruction of lives and their property, the destruction of livelihood. As we all know, that the people of the riverine area have their profession is through fishing. Their source of livelihood is fishery, and their source of livelihood as a result of oil exploration were destroyed over the years. They My growing up, I was opportune to be in Ogoni. And when I got to Ogoni, that was sometime in 2002, around 2000, 2002, 2001, 2002. When I got there, I felt I couldn't hold myself because this is a community that have given the Nigerian state everything it needed to survive. That we have Abuja today was as a result of the resources that were taken from Ogoniland and so many other uh, Niger Delta areas to develop Abuja, including part of Lagos. But we see continuous mismanagement of both human and natural resources. Now, coming down to the issue of Kenya, because we, I started with what led to some of the agitations you see, and especially what gave birth to what we call today as the Biafra struggle or the Biafra restoration project. As a result of the mismanagement of the Nigerian state, where things are not done properly as supposed to be, and you see that mismanagement at every point in time, and that mismanagement have also led to what we have today in the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, where he was granted bail in 2017, and there was this claim that he breached his bail condition according to their report. And rather than them to wait for him to come to court, to come and face the judge, they took up arms by the Nigerian military under Buratai at the time, invaded his father's compound, and he has to escape for his life. And since 2017, when he fled, um, we saw him carry out his activities from other parts of the world until in 2021 when he was tracked down, illegally arrested, detained, and kidnapped back to Nigeria without going through the normal international process for extradition. Extraordinary rendition was carried out, and when this extraordinary rendition, this illegal act was carried out, we saw Lai Mohammed and some other spokesperson of the federal government claiming that they work with the Interpol to track Mazi Nnamdi Kanu down in Kenya. All were lies, trying to cover their ill activities until the Interpol came and said they didn't even know anything that transpired in Kenya. We also saw the Kenyan justice system said that nothing of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was brought to them. And the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was bundled with his eyes closed and brought to court on that day when everybody were surprised to see him appear in court without the presence of his legal team or a lead counsel or legal attorney. He was forced to sit before the judge, which was completely a breach of court order, and we continue to see mismanagement of events up till now. And they have abused the state power. They have taken advantage of the state instrument to commit different kind of crimes and terrorism against innocent people. And today, we see a situation where the issue of negotiation have become topic of the day. But I think that we'll get there as this program proceed. So, but as far as I'm concerned, the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu being an Igbo man and for that reason being detained is also another question that is on the table, because we have also seen that the treatment of Igbos in Nigeria, which is very obvious, is different when it comes to handling the issue that deal with other tribes. We have seen it in many scenarios, and I believe that a lot of people who wanted to exempt themselves from the discussion that has to do with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra struggle are now beginning to speak out. we've seen people now coming to speak out to say release this man. These are people who never picked any form of interest in making any contribution or even adding their voice to anything that has to do with Biafra struggle or Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So I think we also have to come to that as this program continues. Wada.
Thank you, Mazi. That's to say that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was not kidnapped or he's been in illegal detention, not because he's just Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or because he's just from the family of Oku Kanu.
Yes. Okay. Before Mazi Nnamdi Kanu becomes a member of the Oku Kanu family, his major first identity is his tribe, where he comes from, which is the Igbo tribe, and I think that is the major bone of contention in this situation that we find ourselves. And it is a question that everybody is asking, and that have also given a lot of people reason to start commenting and start asking questions and start questioning the rationale behind his detention. There are a lot of people who at some point were against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Just few days ago, I saw one barrister Kenneth Okonkwo on his analysis, talking about the continuous illegal detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And as we all know, this individual I mentioned earlier have in one of his occasions said that he has no business with Biafra. And suddenly we have seen those who were against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and who were against Biafra struggle now beginning to come to terms with the reality that it is not just about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but it is about them as well. And I believe that the detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the continuous illegal detention is now beginning to make a lot of people who didn't see from his perspective, who didn't understand the basis for the struggle, beginning to now understand that they themselves too are victims of the same system.
Thank you. Invariably, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is in detention simply because he is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. And we are moving on to the next question. Mazi, we have seen some prominent politicians and individuals and groups, different groups, calling for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We have seen people like Shore from time to time calling for his release. Even Sunday Igboho has also called for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You have also seen, just like Kenneth Okonkwo, Nebo you just mentioned, and some other prominent politicians. But it seems to the people that there is this particular individual or politician who, because of maybe power, political power, is not qualified or is not supposed to call for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and that is Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of Labour Party. Recently, we have seen this loud criticism calling out Peter Obi why he should be calling for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mazi, I want to ask, is it out of place for Mr. Peter Obi to call for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu?
Absolutely not. In fact, Peter be calling for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu at this point is even long overdue. But some of us understand the position, considering the fact that he contested in the last election, and if he had done that earlier, uh, possibly they would have also used that against him during the campaign. And but I want to point out, like you said, that a lot of people, a lot of groups and individuals are now coming forward uh, to call for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And I've said it earlier that a lot of people who never wanted to participate in anything, they didn't want to add their voice. We are talking about our own Igbo people, politicians, and some dignitaries who didn't want to make any contribution. They don't want to participate in the struggle. That one is even another different story. But they don't even want to mingle themselves with the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But we've seen them recently coming out to now speak. And the question is, what have changed in the course of the whole process that have now given them that leverage or courage to come out and speak? One, because all of them have stood back to see that at the end of the day, the Nigerian state do not have any case against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And they have also seen that the court have also given Mazi Nnamdi Kanu the acquittal, that they have given him an unconditional release, and the court have asked the federal government to free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And that alone is now beginning to people who felt they didn't want to talk anything about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or Biafra, that have now started, making them feel concerned that if the court can uh, free this man, why is he still in detention? That is the question everybody is asking. And we've seen it, and that is the basis that Peter Obi was, putting his argument forward. He's not just Peter Obi didn't just start calling for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu simply because he wants to get attention, but because he has seen that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have no case to answer. We all know the kind of character that Peter Obi has as a person. And for Peter Obi to come out and say, oh, free this man, it means that there is something he has seen that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have no business remaining in detention. And I think that is the point that all these people are making, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have no business remaining in custody. And when you see people coming to attack Peter Obi for what he said, it is quite understandable because people had been also waiting for him for a long time to make this statement, for them to take on him, considering the fact that even during the election, they also accused him of being a member of IPOB. So we have seen people coming to say, we told you people that he's a member of IPOB. Now he is beginning to show it. But Peter Obi himself have stood back to study the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and understood that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have no business remaining in detention. And I believe that was what gave him the motivation and the courage to speak out.
Thank you so much for your good explanations. But Mazi, as this news is flying up and down, just like we said earlier, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped from in Kenya since 2021 and has been illegally detained. We have not seen the Southeast governors except very few of them like Soludo, who visited uh, before election, before he was elected, and before 2023 election that he visited, and some other individuals. But we've not seen these Southeast governors coming together, trying to approach the federal government since 2021. But all of a sudden, there was this news even coming from the Imo State Governor, Senator Hope Uzodinma, that the Southeastern governors met in Enugu on Tuesday, and the issue of releasing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was discussed. And the press has been carrying this news. So many media houses has been carrying this news, but surprisingly, the former president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, through his media aide, Kainde Akiyemi, said on Wednesday that the former president said that there was no time that the issue of releasing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was discussed with him and the governors in their just concluded meeting in Enugu State on Tuesday. So, Mazi, is there something that is not adding up here? Because the governors and the news press, they are telling us that, oh, these Southeast governors, they've met and they've discussed of meeting Mr. President to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But all of a sudden, this news came from the former president whom they hosted in Enugu that there was no time. Such was discussed. Who is deceiving who and who is lying? Who is telling lies?
Well, like there was a statement you made earlier that the Southeast governors have not done enough to approach the federal government on the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu release. I can tell you categorically that there could be some few of them who would want Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to be released. We've also seen Soludo some time ago requested that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be handed over to him personally. So there are some of them who genuinely would want Mazi Nnamdi Kanu out of detention. But we also know that there are some of them who would not want that to happen, especially when some of them feel that the presence of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in the eastern region is a threat to their political position as governors, considering the fact that he bears more influence, more than all the governors put together. And you understand the consequences of such when you have that level of influence above those who are in position of authority. Automatically you are a threat. You are perceived as a threat. So that is number one. Secondly, the issue of Obasanjo coming out to talk about him not discussing anything that has to do with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I believe that was not the reason he came all the way. And he has made it very, very clear that the things that were discussed were different. So I believe personally that Olusegun Obasanjo cannot, considering the kind of character he has as well, if he had discussed the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I know he will come out to talk about it by himself. He will even take the microphone and make a statement. But I believe that some of the agendas or some of the issues is discussed with the Eastern governors could be economical issues, could be regional development issues. But I don't think that Obasanjo at this point have any power or any influence when it comes to the issue of releasing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He has no influence because we know that he does not enjoy a good relationship with the present administration in the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So I cannot guarantee that even if he has any contribution in that direction, that Tinubu administration will give him a listening ear. But the truth of the matter is that the federal government of Nigeria have not been able to uh, carry out any form of conviction, or they have not even been able to make their case. Like you said earlier, all the 15 count charges were dropped, and even all the terrorism charges were dropped. The Nigeria that I know cannot let you go if they have case against you. So I mean, at this point, we are not even supposed to be talking about negotiation or whatever. We are talking. The federal government of Nigeria is supposed to have released Mazi Nnamdi Kanu just like the court ordered. If Nigeria was a sane society, so quite unfortunate, but uh, despite the unfortunate situation for us, it also goes a long way to show the world what Nigeria is in reality. Because if these events are not taking place, the world will not see Nigeria for what it is. That the rule of law they claim that they follow, that they don't follow the rule of law. They act based on their own, personal convenience. When the law is convenient for them, they obey the law. When it is not convenient for them, they disobey the law. And no country can function in that manner. So it goes a long way, to push through our agitation, to tell the world that nobody can function in this kind of lawless society where you have those who make the law become breakers of the law. It is completely incomprehensible and unacceptable.
Thank you so much, Mazi. Now you know that there is this pressing need on the neck of the Southeast politicians. That's the burial of the former Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Obonnaya. And there is this still issue of insecurity in Nigeria and in Southeast in particular. So now, Mazi, does it mean that, or do you think that the Southeast governors are just only trying to play to the gallery because of the insecurity in the Southeast, or probably knowing that now in the Southeast that IPOB is the state actor in the Southeast, that they can give order that or any day, anytime, and probably these Southeast governors are afraid of what IPOB may say or the order they may pass concerning the burial of the former Nigerian Minister of Science and Technology. Do you think they are just trying to play to the gallery, or just to play the game so that this event will come to pass? Or do you think that they really want to facilitate the release of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the governors of the Eastern region have not done enough, and we cannot hold them on their words because they have not shown that political will to work towards the freedom of Mazi Nnamdi. Just like I said, that there are few of them who have shown some kind of genuineness, but because you cannot just use one hand and wave off all of them. We have seen the likes of Soludo, for example, like I said earlier, who have shown interest, who have said, hand over this young man to me. Personally, let me stand as a guarantor and things like that. But collectively, we've not seen enough effort being put in place. So if you say that maybe they are trying to use this opportunity to kind of douse the tension just to be able to carry out the burial of Ogbonnayon, well, I'm not in a position to come to that conclusion. But I think that the issue of Ogbonnayon is also a paramount concern. The burial is a paramount concern, but I don't know how to reconcile the freedom of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to the burial, because these issues, the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not supposed to linger to this point where we now have a situation where the court have given an order for him to be released, but we saw continuous illegal detention. In fact, detention is even an under, because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, as far as I'm concerned, like Showoro said in the past, is no longer in detention but in a hostage situation. So what the word we should be using is the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That is the right phrase. Is in a hostage situation in the hand of Nigerian state, and I think that the ball lies in the court of the Southeast governors to make do with their word and make do the necessary moves to also save the Nigerian government from the mess that they have put themselves in.
Thank you once again. Now, Mazi, on this issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, you can now see three different solutions that we don't know how to reconcile. Now we have IPOB have been talking about the issue of political solution. There was already this discharged and acquitted by the court of law, and now the this negotiation. So, do you think that without IPOB, that there is a negotiation that can take place between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the Nigerian government? And what exactly is the stand of IPOB?
Well, when it comes to the issue of negotiation, the indigenous people of Biafra have always left the door of negotiation open from the very first day, from the very inception of the struggle. The door of negotiation had always been open, but it is the Nigerian state who believe in violence, because they believe that violence is the only option on the table for them, because that is only where their area of strength lies. They believe that everything have to go through the barrel of the gun. Unfortunately, the gun have been tested over the years, and the will of the Biafran people have not been subdued. The will and the strength of the Biafran people have also proven that you cannot kill an ideology through bullet and gun. So when it comes to the issue of negotiation, it is very, very important that we make it very, very clear to the world that IPOB have always been available for negotiation. It is the Nigerian state that have refused to come through that door. They keep going on the path of violence, believing that they are going to break the back of IPOB by trying to subjugate us, by trying to destroy the Biafran people. But unfortunately, that have been proven wrong. Now, when it comes to the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu release, these are two different things. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, as an entity, as an individual, is in detention and not the Biafran struggle. The Biafran struggle is not in detention, and it is very, very important that our people understand that the Biafran struggle is not in detention. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu might be in detention, but that have not in any way affected the struggle for Biafra restoration. So if there is going to be any form of negotiation in course of the discussion that is going on, which we've not been able to point out in direction the negotiation is going to come from, I think that decisions will be made. It will be looked at in all perspective for IPOB to take a stand. And, but I think that any negotiation that has to do with Biafra that does not give room or does not leave the window for the demand for the indigenous people of Biafra to be met, such a negotiation might hit the rock because the demand of the Biafran people is very, very clear and simple. And the demand is a request for the possibility for referendum to determine if the Biafran people still want to remain in Nigeria, considering the fact that in 2014, Nigeria, the amalgamation of Nigeria expired. Very, very important. So, and that document is supposed to be renewed legally. So, as far as we are concerned today, Nigeria is an expired entity, and the Biafran people are requesting for a referendum to determine if they have to, remain in Nigeria or walk away from Nigeria. So I think that the question for referendum have to be put on the table if, in course of the negotiation for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that the issue of Biafra will be put on the table, then the question for negotiation have to be on the table. So but if the federal government want to go through the back door to negotiate with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu using the Biafra struggle as a bet, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
Mazi, there is something you mentioned that I would like you to touchlight it a bit. So let me throw it as a question to you. Do you think that keeping Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in DSS dungeon is going to stop the agitation of Biafra? Or do you think that that's the worst mistake that Nigerian government has ever made?
We all know that the Nigerian government always want to wish problems away. They do not have the courage. Those who find themselves in the helm of affair of this state do not have the courage to confront issues through the natural and normal processes. They always want to beat the corners. They like to cut corners. And cutting corners is now the reason they kidnapped Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya and illegally brought him back to Nigeria to start a trial that have now hit the rock. Because you cannot try a case that you started on illegal ground in a court. You see how they complicate issues for themselves. Had they gone through the legal process in Kenya to bring Mazi Nnamdi Kanu down to the zoo called Nigeria, they wouldn't have found themselves in this situation. So what they are doing today is just trying to use the state muzzle, trying to use the instrument of the state muzzle, to continue to violate the law because they believe that nobody will be held responsible at the end of the day. Because when you talk about the criminal activities, the reference is always Nigerian government. No individual have been held responsible from the inception. And this is the reason why these criminals continue to use the instrument of the state to commit terrorism, commit different kind of atrocities. They hide under the instrument of the state to do evil because they believe that they cannot be held accountable. So for me, I believe strongly that they don't have an option They don't have an option than to free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And what they have been trying to do all along is to find a way, to break him, to make him now reject or denounce the Biafra struggle. But Mazi Nnamdi Kanu rejecting or denouncing Biafra struggle does not end the agitation. If at all he's, which we know he's not going to do that, but even if he does that, the question is, when crushing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, have you crushed the Biafran struggle? The continued detention since 2001 till now, has it in any way affected the Biafran struggle, despite all their effort to infiltrate IPOB and destroy IPOB from within? Everything has proven to backfire on them. So I think any reasonable institution or government is supposed to have learned from the lessons of the past 3 years or thereabout.
This is wonderful and awesome. There is something you say, and it was like I was once again motivated. And I'm sure that Biafrans and lovers of freedom that are watching us from across the globe will also be energized and motivated the way I was immediately you made mention of that word. You said, if Nigerian states in any way or at all crushes Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, have they crushed the ideology of the struggle for freedom of Biafra? And the answer is just no, which gladdens my heart that we keep moving on until our targeted goal is achieved. And I will still put a little question to you, and I would like you to be using that question to be summarizing today's program. And that question is coming from what you have just said, but I will still put it. So now it is very much obvious that the Nigerian state or Nigerian government will surely give Mazi Nnamdi Kanu condition for his release. Now, what do you think that these conditions will be?
Well, it will be too early for anybody to kind of project or anticipate on the kind of conditions um, that will be that would be presented before Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But one thing they have always wanted is to see how to destroy IPOB and see how to bring the struggle down. So I believe that is going to be their area of anchor. How do they make Mazi Nnamdi Kanu possibly deny the struggle or make him, disband IPOB? You know, so as far as I'm concerned, I can place my bet on that whatever negotiation Nigeria is going to make, or whatever political solution as the case may be, is how to disband IPOB and end the Biafra struggle. So because that had always been their point of call. Everything they can do to destroy IPOB had always been their areas of focus. So I believe personally that everything you see them, even the continual detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the illegal continuous incarceration, the hostage situation of all is in the bid to destroy IPOB. So for me, I'm sure, if I can't place my hands on any other thing, but I can bet you that this will be their focus point. in any negotiation whatsoever.
Thank you. As another question struck my mind. You see, this discussion of Nnamdi Kanu has been going on, and it has been the order of the day, because there is no newspaper in Nigeria or news press in Nigeria that a day will pass by and they will not talk about the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, or they talk about the indigenous people of Biafra themselves. But there is one thing I've discovered, which I don't know if you or any Biafran has discovered. You see, because that question came to my mind immediately. You talk about that they have tried, to break or to crush IPOB, but they have been unable to do that. Do you remember that one of their vices or their instruments has been writing of addressing IPOB as the outlawed group, or as a proscribed group, when they know that IPOB is not proscribed? Have you find that of recent that they are tired of using that uh, word proscribed or outlawed? They now just say the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, or they say IPOB, or they say indigenous people of Biafra. Do you discover that from Nigerian press of recent? Because it seems they are running out of every instrument they think they could use to break IPOB.
Well, we have seen even more harsher word from before we get to the point of using outlawed and proscribe and all that. At the beginning, they were telling the whole world that we are jobless, that these are jobless, lazy people,
Miscreants.
that we were miscreants. So at every point in time, they try to find a suitable word that is convenient for them. But for the fact that we have been able to survive guns and bullets, because verbal abuse are just mere words that you play around with. We have faced, as the indigenous people of Biafra, a more harsher situation in the hand of Nigerian government, where some of our comrades were even shot, killed, and acid poured on them to dissolve their bodies. This is the worst you can do to a people. So, for me and for a lot of Biafrans all over the world, the words that Nigerian and their agents use against us are not uh, cannot be compared to the kind of massacre, the Mpo massacre. We've seen Aba High School massacre. We've seen on the Shahed Bridge massacre. We've experienced different kind of massacres. We have some of our comrades whose legs were amputated as a result of bullet wounds. We've seen so many comrades who could not see because certain chemicals were applied on them that they got blind today. We've seen a lot of people who have completely been paralyzed because of one injury or the other in course of this struggle. There is nothing worse than this kind of dehumanization. So the words used against us does not really in any way affect us. If the guns and the bullet didn't crush our mind, didn't destroy our belief in our conviction for our freedom, the words are just words. Words have no meaning. What matters to us is our determination. What matters to us is our vision to building a future for our children, to building a future for the unborn, to making Africa better than it is today, using the resources, not just natural but human resources that is available, the gift that God has given to us, using them to bless humanity. That is what matters to us, not the name they call us. Those words they use have no meaning to us. What matters to us is getting to the end of our destination and proving to the world that a black man can build a nation that can be respected globally. That is what matters to us.
Thank you so much. So to achieve our targeted goal means that we must continue. As our leader will always say, that we must continue. And our slogan those days, especially I love when Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor we always use that slogan, we move, we keep moving, no going back, no relentless. So Amazi, before we wind up, what would be your words to the great Biafrans who are still resolute, who are still in truth and in spirit pursuing the cause of a Biafran restoration, given to the fact that even though Nigerian government crushes Mazi Nnamdi and probably through their unpredicted negotiation or condition that IPOB or the struggle for realization of Biafra is not crushed. Please, your words to great Biafrans before we say good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I want to thank Biafrans all over the world for staying tuned with us this evening. There is something I want to say and the point I want to make. I personally believe in the strength of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I believe that he cannot be crushed because I know the man Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and I know he has what it takes uh, to stand and doing what he knows to do best. I believe that the question of the negotiation and the political solution is also what the Nigerian state need. They even need it more. And that is the reason they continue to keep him in isolation, trying to see if they could get the worst out of him. But at the end of the day, the Nigerian state need solution more than we do because they are the one in the quagmire that they have put themselves. So I want every Biafran all over the world to be self-confident in their leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who we know is a very strong person. He's a strong-willed individual. You cannot take that away from him. There is no room for any kind of fear. Uh, because we know the man that have called us out and the man we are following. We have confidence in him, and we also have confidence in the leadership that he has put in place, which is the Directorate of State that are managing the affairs of the Biafra struggle on a daily basis. So we have no fear whatsoever. The only concern I have is my concern for the Biafran people, how prepared they are mentally. And for the past 3 years, the Biafran people have proven to be resolute, to be frank with you. In as much as we have few individuals who have derailed in one way or the other, but I can tell you that the majority of Biafran people have that same determination like their leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And we've seen that in 30th of May sit at home that took place. The kind of response that we got was overwhelming. People show high level of solidarity to our fallen heroes. That alone is enough for us to uh, give kudos to our people and appreciate them for still standing strong and tall despite all the obstacles and despite all the hicks we've met on our way. And I believe that as we move on, Biafrans will continue to show their strength because definitely we will get to our destination. It might take a more longer time, notwithstanding, but I believe that our people have what it takes to retain their energy, to retain the air in their lungs, to be able to push further. I also want to use this opportunity to talk more on the issue of the agriculture that we have been promoting. For those of our people who have the opportunity to still plant, they should. We should not um, take in this hybrid maize and hybrid products that are being introduced to our land. We must reject them wholeheartedly and make sure that we retain our traditional crops because we don't need any hybrid product in our land. There are long-term consequences in terms of health and economy because if we embrace the hybrid, it's going to affect us, it's going to affect our health and our economy at the long run, and we should not allow that to happen. At least let us for once reject the white man's product. If not for any other thing, the rejection of this white man product would also send a signal that we have come of age because everything they have presented to us was always accepted and taken it. Let us reject this one for once, at least for once. Let us be in charge of our destiny. Thank you very much, Wada.
Thank you so much, Mazi. I excuse me, please. I sincerely appreciate your coming and your appreciation to the leadership and to all the members of IPOB. And I also still want to encourage our people to keep on keeping on and also to continue looking up to the leadership of the indigenous people of Biafra, which is the Directorates of States. They have been doing so much in keeping the train moving. These men, they have not faltered, they have not relented, despite all the hiccups, despite all the back and forths that have been hitting them here and there, they have been there for us, making sure that we keep moving. We appreciate them so much. We appreciate all the national coordinators. We appreciate all the anchors of Radio Biafra and the Biafra television. We appreciate the individuals who are doing well in speaking out for Biafra, those on different media outlets doing well for Biafra, and we also advise Biafrans to stay away from listening to what will not make them to move forward. Know the type of people you listen to. Choose the type of news outlets that you get your information. It is not everybody that gives information. That there are some people that their information are misleading. Try to do away from any form of misleading information or news outlet that is not healthy. And also, like Mazi said, we can't forget that we are still in farming season, but more especially, let us remember that inflation is at very high rate. And please, wonderful people of Biafrans, if any of us is living outside Nigeria, please, even if you are living in Seme border, since you cross Nigerian border, please don't forget our people at home. Their wailing is so much. The cost of foodstuff in the market is becoming higher and higher every day. Please always remember to give to them. If not weekly, please try monthly. Don't wait for them to ask. please. Because in other countries, which means I know you can testify that foodstuff is not a problem. Foodstuff, let's say what to eat is not a problem. But in Nigeria, we don't know the problems we are facing. Nigeria, we are facing the problems of basic amenities. We are facing the problems of social amenities. We are all types of problems, political problems, economic problems. I mean, insecurity, everything, every type of problem. But the worst of it all is the height of the cost of food in the market. You see, look at the Fulani herdsmen being brought to be destroying our farms, killing our farmers. I mean, a lot of troubles in Nigeria. Please, anywhere you are outside Nigeria, please always remember to send something home. Always send something home. Don't wait for them to ask you. Things are terribly difficult for our people back home. Here, I want to say to our great listeners, I want to say a very big thank you to you all. And Mazi Ikem Patrick, you've done Biafra so proud by coming to discuss with us this evening and to feed our ears and also to encourage us. I must say a big thank you to you, and I'm wishing you a beautiful and nice weekend, and also to our wonderful viewers. I still remain Wanda Jovistar Chichi. Do have an awesome weekend.
Thank you very much.